Sometimes, the biggest changes do not arrive with noise. They come quietly, on a morning that feels completely ordinary, when your heart suddenly feels a little heavier and you do not know why. Libra is someone who knows how to keep things together, someone who knows how to smile, who knows how to soften a room, who knows how to say, "I'm fine," even when inside they are not. But there are days when emotions refuse to stay still. They begin to rise, slowly, silently, and stronger than you expect. Tomorrow may be one of those days, not to make you weaker, but to remind you that release sometimes begins the moment you allow yourself to feel. And from this very moment, something has already started to shift. Tomorrow may pass like so many other days. Morning still arrives. Light still slips through the window. The outside world seems unchanged. But inside you, something very quiet may begin to move. Not clear, not sudden, just a vague feeling, like walking into a familiar room and sensing the air has shifted, even though you cannot explain exactly how. Libra is someone who knows how to keep things balanced, who knows how to put everything in its proper place, who knows how to make others feel comfortable. And sometimes, you have learned to do the same for yourself. When an uncomfortable feeling appears, you know how to fold it away, set it aside, tell yourself you are fine, that it has already passed, that there is no need to think about it anymore. But emotions do not disappear just because we stop looking at them. Some things simply stay there, quietly, waiting for a moment that feels safe enough to be touched. Tomorrow, for some Libras, may be that moment. Not because something dramatic happens, but because the silence inside has lasted long enough to become heavy. You might notice it through very small signs. A sadness with no clear reason. A deeper tiredness, even when you have done very little. A pause in the middle of your thoughts, when everything suddenly feels empty. Not a sharp sadness, just a quiet wave of feeling, rising slowly, like the tide before it reaches the shore. You may wonder why you feel this way. Everything seems fine. Life keeps moving. Your familiar roles are still intact. But sometimes, emotions do not come to disrupt life. They come to remind us that there are still parts within us that have not been heard. Libra often looks outward to keep the peace, to avoid making anyone uncomfortable, to keep the space light. And in doing so, you may have set aside your own honest feelings, not because you do not value them, but because you have grown used to putting others first. Tomorrow may not bring answers. It may not bring immediate clarity, but it may offer a gentle moment, a soft reminder that your feelings also deserve acknowledgement. No analysis required, no explanation needed, just permission to exist. Some emotions do not ask you to fix them. They only want to be recognized, to be seen, to sit beside you for a moment, in silence. And when you allow that, even briefly, you may sense a simple truth. Feeling heavy does not mean you are weak. It only means you are being honest with yourself. Tomorrow, if emotions begin to rise, try not to push them away too quickly. No need to name them. No need to search for a cause. Just notice that something inside wants to be heard. And sometimes, that quiet presence alone is already a very important step. Libra often does not think about how much they have kept to themselves. It happens naturally. When someone needs understanding, you are there. When the atmosphere becomes tense, you are the one who softens it. And when there is a choice between speaking your truth and keeping everything calm, you usually choose the second, without thinking too long. Over time, this becomes a habit, a way of living. You learn how to adjust yourself to fit the moment. You know when to speak and when to stay quiet. Most of the time, you do it well. From the outside, everything appears balanced. Relationships continue to function. No one complains. No one seems hurt. But emotions do not follow the same logic. The things you never say do not disappear. They simply step back. They remain there, in a very quiet corner of the mind, a place you rarely visit. They do not make noise. They do not demand attention. They only gather silently over the years. Tomorrow may not bring any specific event that throws you off balance, but it may bring a feeling that is both familiar and unfamiliar at the same time, as if something inside is gently knocking on a door that has been closed for a very long time, not to accuse, not to disrupt, only to be acknowledged, to be recognized as something that still exists. You may notice this through reactions that seem insignificant, a casual comment that stays with you longer than expected, an old memory that surfaces without invitation, a heaviness that appears when you are alone, different from the calm you are used to, not because something is wrong right now, but because things that were never spoken are finding their way back into awareness. Libra is often very skilled at setting their own feelings aside for the greater good. You understand others. You see multiple perspectives. You know the world is not just black and white. And because of that, you often allow yourself to carry small sacrifices, telling yourself they are not that important. But small sacrifices, when carried for long enough, become weight, not crushing all at once, just slowly tiring you out until you grow so accustomed to living under that weight that you forget what lightness truly feels like. Tomorrow, the things you once chose to keep silent may not arrive as clear words. They may come as a brief sense of unease, as a simple desire to be heard, as a need for acknowledgement that you rarely allow yourself to express. Not loud, not dramatic, but enough to remind you that something real is moving inside you. This does not mean you were wrong to choose gentleness. It does not mean you lived incorrectly. It only shows that even those who know how to maintain balance need a place to let go, a space where nothing needs to be adjusted, where no image needs to be maintained, where there is no need to please anyone. When what has been held back begins to rise, you do not need to rush to fix it. You do not need to solve it. Sometimes, simply recognizing its presence is already a very significant step, because from that moment on, you are no longer turning away from yourself. And perhaps that is what tomorrow is gently reminding you, that true balance is not only about keeping the outside world calm, it also lives in allowing what is within to have its own voice, even if it speaks only in silence. There are moments when you do not even realize that you are responding differently, not an outburst, not a loss of control, just a very slight misstep, as if you missed a familiar step on the stairs. You pause for a second, wondering why something so small could make you feel unsteady. It might be nothing more than an offhand comment, a brief look, a situation that does not seem worth your attention. Yet what follows goes deeper than you expect. Not intense, but spreading, like a quiet wave, moving through your body, touching places you have not paid attention to in a very long time. You may surprise yourself because you have always believed you understand yourself fairly well. You have been through a lot. You have learned how to stay calm. You have grown used to standing in the middle, not leaning too far in any direction. But some emotions do not come from the present moment. They carry traces of something older, something deeper, things you once believed you had already left behind. When a memory suddenly returns, it does not ask permission. It does not need a clear reason. It simply appears. When you are least guarded, perhaps when you are alone, perhaps when you are doing your best to fulfill a familiar role. And in that moment, you realize that certain parts within you have remained exactly the same as they were at the beginning, even though so much time has passed. What makes this feeling stronger than you expect is not its intensity, it is its honesty. In that moment, you are no longer shielding it with reason or practiced composure. You are not trying to stay balanced. You are not trying to analyze. You are simply feeling. And that is what makes everything clearer than ever before. Libra is often seen as someone who manages emotions well, but that control can also be a form of protection. It keeps you from being pulled into external turbulence. It helps you remain steady. Yet, when that layer grows thinner, even briefly, what lies beneath may surprise you with its depth. This feeling does not say that you have become weaker. It does not prove that choosing gentleness was a mistake. It only shows that you are touching a more honest level of awareness, a place where you do not need to be right, where you do not need to be reasonable, only acknowledged for existing. You may try to reassure yourself, telling yourself that everything will be fine, that you should not react so strongly. But sometimes, the greatest strength is not in holding back. It is in allowing yourself to recognize that something is truly affecting you, even if you cannot yet name it. When emotion reaches the place you once avoided, it is not trying to hurt you. It is simply reminding you that parts of you still need to be seen, not to be fixed, not to be changed immediately, but to understand that balance is not always a perfectly still surface. Some days, balance comes from acknowledging the sway, from accepting that you are feeling more than usual. And in that acceptance, you may realize something essential, that this feeling does not take away your strength. It only makes you more honest with yourself in a way you may not have allowed before. There are moments when tears arrive very softly, without warning, without a clear reason. They do not crash in like a storm. They feel more like a single drop, spilling over a glass that has been full for a long time. You may not cry out loud. Sometimes it is only the sting in your eyes, sometimes a tightness in your throat. And in that moment, you may wonder if you are becoming weaker. But tears do not always mean collapse. Sometimes they are simply the body's natural response after carrying too much pressure, with no chance to release it. Like a deep breath after a long walk, like shoulders finally lowering after being held tense for too long. Not failure, just a necessary pause. Libra is not used to letting emotions spill outward. You are used to maintaining composure, used to being a steady presence for others, used to showing up calm and collected. So when tears appear, they may confuse you, as if you have done something that does not fit the role you know so well. But the body and the mind have their own language. When words are no longer used, when thoughts are set aside, they find another way to release. And tears are one of the most honest ways. No analysis needed, no explanation required, only permission to let them pass through. You may have believed that every reaction must be controlled, that staying calm is always the better choice, that strong emotions should be kept within limits. But sometimes Allowing yourself to feel fully is what keeps you from being swept away. Because when you stop resisting emotion, it no longer needs to raise its voice, to be noticed. In the moment tears fall, you are not losing control. In fact, you are deeply aware in a different way. You are listening to signals you have ignored for a long time. You are allowing yourself to be honest, at least with yourself. And that is not easy for someone who is always trying to keep everything balanced. Many people grow up believing that strength means not crying, that tears are a sign of weakness. But over time, you may begin to see that true resilience is not about holding everything in. It lives in the ability to face what you feel, to look directly at emotion without judging yourself. When you allow tears to appear, even for a very brief moment, the body begins to recalibrate. Breathing slows. The chest feels lighter. Invisible tension gradually loosens. Not because every problem is solved, but because you are no longer bracing yourself against your own experience. This does not turn you into someone else. It does not take away your natural gentleness. If anything, it makes that gentleness more real, because it is no longer a shield. It becomes understanding, directed inward. If tomorrow emotions rise high enough for tears to surface, try not to wipe them away too quickly. No need to ask whether you are right or wrong. Just recognize that this is a deeply human response, a natural way to return to inner balance. And perhaps in the quiet that follows, you may sense something subtle, that you did not fall apart. You simply allowed yourself to feel a little lighter after many days of standing strong, without saying a word. After emotions have been allowed to complete their own journey, a pause often appears. Not an empty silence, but a very different kind of quiet. Like the moment after rain has just stopped, the air still heavy with moisture, yet the sky already lighter. You may not notice it right away, but your body knows. Your mind knows. Something has been set down. This moment is not loud. It does not arrive with celebration or a sense of victory. It comes simply. You realize you are breathing deeper without trying. Your shoulders soften. Your chest opens just a little more. Thoughts that once kept circling no longer rush the way they did before. Not because everything is resolved, but because there is now more space inside you. Libra is used to living in a state of constant adjustment. Adjusting emotions, adjusting reactions, adjusting words to keep the world around you balanced. And along the way, you may have forgotten what it feels like to be yourself without adjusting at all. This moment of release does not change who you are, but it reminds you that you, too, have the right to feel lighter. You may notice that problems still exist. Responsibilities are still present. Life does not pause to wait for you, but the way you carry them has shifted. The weight no longer sits fully on your shoulders. Some of it has been placed down, and that alone creates a meaningful difference. In this moment, you do not need to do anything more. No decisions to make, no plans to design, no grand meaning to uncover. The only thing required is noticing that you feel slightly lighter than before. And sometimes that slight shift is all you need to continue forward. You may find that your view becomes clearer, not because answers suddenly appear, but because emotion is no longer pulling your perspective off balance. When internal pressure is released, you can see what truly matters and what you have been carrying for far too long. simply out of habit. This moment of release is not the destination. It is a resting place, a place to pause, to breathe, and to feel the ground beneath you. It does not ask you to become someone else. It simply allows you to keep moving with less weight. Libra is deeply sensitive to balance, and perhaps you are beginning to see that balance does not mean the absence of emotion. Balance exists when emotions are allowed to come and go without being held too tightly or pushed away. This moment is proof of that truth. As your breathing deepens and becomes clearer, you naturally reconnect with yourself. No affirmations needed. No dramatic promises required. Just the feeling of being here in the present with everything as it is. And perhaps the most valuable part of this release is not that it makes life easier. It is that it reminds you that you are capable of adjusting, listening, and caring for yourself, not through tighter control, but through greater permission. In this lightness, there is no need to rush forward. Stay a little longer. Breathe. Feel. Let your body and mind remember this sensation, because it is from moments, this quiet, this gentle, that a new balance is quietly taking shape. After all, the inner movement, tomorrow no longer feels like an event. It feels more like a quiet intersection, a place where you pause in the familiar flow of life and realize that something has shifted, even if you cannot easily name it. Not because the outside world has changed, but because the way you stand within it is no longer the same. This new balance does not arrive as a feeling of perfection. It is not a state where emotions disappear. It arrives through permission. Permission to feel without self-blame. Permission for your fragile parts to exist alongside your strength. Permission to stop holding yourself together just to prove that you are fine. Libra has always been drawn to harmony, but sometimes that harmony is built by making room for others at your own expense, by placing your needs lower, by staying silent to avoid disruption. This new balance does not reject what is beautiful about you. It gently recenters you so you are no longer leaning too far to one side. You may notice that you no longer try so hard to stay neutral. You allow yourself opinions. You allow yourself feelings. You allow yourself not to understand everything right away. And in that permission, you do not become selfish. You become real. This new balance does not ask you to change your life in a single day. It does not demand big decisions. It simply invites you to slow down by one beat, to listen a little more closely, to be more honest with yourself in very small moments, like noticing when you need rest, like no longer forcing yourself to always be pleasant, like saying something out loud that you once kept inside. Tomorrow does not come to hurt you. It does not come to take away anything you cherish. It simply places a very gentle mirror in front of you so you can see yourself more clearly, not the version adjusted to fit everyone else, but who you are when you no longer try to balance the entire world. You may come to see that peace does not live in controlling emotion. It lives in allowing emotion to move naturally, to come and go, to rise and fall, without being held too tightly, without being pushed away. And within that movement, you are not swept away. You learn to stand steady in a softer way. True balance does not make you distant. It does not make you cold. It makes you present with yourself before being present with others. And when you stand firmly there, you no longer need to suppress yourself to keep the peace. Calm begins to rise from within, not from everything around you. Being okay. Looking back, you may realize that tomorrow was never an ending. It was only a gentle shift, a subtle adjustment, a reminder that you do not have to sacrifice your emotions to deserve peace. You deserve it, even when you are feeling more than usual. And if there is one thing to carry forward from all of this, it may be something very simple. You do not need to suppress yourself to be balanced. You do not need to brace yourself to be at peace. You only need to allow yourself to live in rhythm with what is happening inside, and let this new balance form on its own, slowly, steadily, and deeply human.